Today I'm going to take you through a bit of a lower intensity workout. Oftentimes the focus of our body weight workouts is getting our heart rate up and kind of stimulate the muscular system, make sure we get a little bit of burning. Today we're just going to focus on being strong technically with our movements, getting through full ranges of motion. We've got a little bit of core work in here, but the central stimulus or the heart rate kind of stimulus, the muscle fatigue is going to be reduced a little bit in this workout today. So we'll get started right away. We'll have a familiar warm-up. I'm going to get into a reverse lunge rotation to start. So I'm going to step back and step back. Just going to put my hand on the outside of my knee. I'm going to rotate. I'm going to open up. Exhale at the back. We're going to step back up, and we're going to go back down on the same side. So hand on the outside of the knee. Open up nice and wide. Exhale at the back. Back to the top. We'll do one more. Sink down. Lots of weight on the front leg. Press your spine into rotation by pushing against the outside of your knee. Just stand back to the top. We're going to get down to the other side. Step back. Open my spine up. Step back up to the top. And do that 2 more times. Down. Open up. Back to the top. And we'll sink back down one more time. Press against the outside of the knee. Big exhale at the back. That's good. Okay. Next what we're going to do is world's greatest on the spot. So same idea. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on one leg here. I'm going to stretch back, so I'm going to get lots of my weight on my front leg, my right leg. Step to the back on one foot, sink down, place my other foot down. I'm trying to keep my backside leg nice and extended. And I'm going to rotate up toward my front leg. Big exhale at the top. Back down. Now I'm going to step back up and get that back leg off the ground as quickly as I can. So I'm spending some time on my front leg. Same idea. Back leg comes off. Exhale on the rotation. Step back up to the top. We'll do one more of those. Step back. Big exhale up to the top. Rotate and stand back up on the other side. Sink back down now on the other side. So right foot off the ground. I'm going to sink down on my left. I'm going to drop my elbow, plant my offside hand. I'm trying to extend my back leg, my right leg up toward the ceiling here, the back of the knee. I'm a little bit tight through the hip, so I'm not getting a lot of range there. I'm just trying to keep my knee off the ground. Exhale as you go up, make some space through your rib cage. Back up to the top, we'll sink back down one more time. Big exhale when you get to the top. Cool. All right, second one. We're going to spend a little bit of time here on one leg again as we weight transfer. So it's a little quarter squat down on one leg. Transfer your weight, place your other foot down. Again, we're still in a quarter squat position. Down, I'm going to grab my knee. I'm going to drop back down again on one foot. Then I'll transfer my weight and then come back up. So we'll go over and back 5 times in this one. Transfer weight and up. Transfer weight and up. Going back and forth 5 times. Go back and forth 2 more times. Make sure we come up on one leg and make sure we drop down on one leg. And over. Let's go one more time. Try to get the hip right over top of the heel when we finish the movement and then stand up. So a little bit of extra length through the lateral tissue on the outside of the hip there. Big butt squeeze every time you come to the top. Cool. We're going to do an A-skip. So we'll kind of stimulate the heart rate a little bit here. Get a bounce up and down. We're only going for 10 strides, 5 per foot. We're going to go ahead. You can join me here. Bouncing up and down. Cool. And the next one we're going to do is going to be a run. So we're running on the spot or a high knee run on the spot. And again, it's just 10 strides, 5 per foot. And let's go ahead. Good. Keep the whole foot contact, swinging the arms. That's great. Good. We're going to do a little core sequence here, or core stabilization sequence. Fire up the abs a little bit. We're going to get the glutes active throughout all 3 of these movements. We're going to do a 20-second front bridge. I'll time it here. 20-second side bridge with your feet stacked up. And we're going to do a 20-second back bridge march. The front bridge is going to be on the forearm. I'll give a quick demo. Squeeze butt, draw the belly button in, stack your feet, arms straight ahead, snug up the shoulder blades, hips push forward. Again, glutes, abs drawn in. Then we go to the other side for 20 seconds. Snug those shoulder blades up. And the last one, we're going to establish a back bridge position, and then we're just going to march. And your hips should not be moving up and down. So you want to try to keep your hips level all the time. They also shouldn't rotate. So we're trying to keep that in mind as we're going. Set up my timer here. Looks like we're good to go. Front bridge, 2 sets, 20 seconds of each movement. We'll cycle through 2 times. Ready to go here. And we are on. Here we go. 20 seconds. Bring the belly button up toward the spine. You want to squeeze that butt as hard as you can. Try not to let your shoulders sink down too much. You want to keep some pressure on the front side of your chest. Think about wrapping your shoulder blades around your rib cage a little bit. We're going to get into our side bridge right away. Stack feet up. Again, I'm drawing my belly button in. I'm pressing my hips forward. Squeeze my butt muscle. Now I'm just going to snug my shoulder blades up, both shoulder blades in toward the spine. And we got a little bit of time left here. But 5 seconds, looking straight ahead, trying to stay as square as you can. And right away, we'll roll to the other side. 20 seconds on this side bridge. Again, snug the shoulder blades, squeeze the butt, draw the belly button in. Not necessarily squeeze, just draw it in a little bit. Create some activity through those deep stabilizers. And we got about 5 seconds. We're going to get into the back bridge march here right away. All right, down onto our back. Establish your extended hip position, a straight line between your knee and your shoulder. And we're just going to march for 20 seconds. 20 seconds here. And good. Keep lots of pressure on the heel. You want to think about keeping that hip extension by squeezing your butt. Keep that hip extension by squeezing your butt. And keep striding back and forth. Get about 5 seconds. As soon as we get done here, we're going to get right back into the front bridge. And we're good. Roll around to the front. Forearms. You want to keep a little bit of a rounded shoulder position here to activate shoulder stabilizers with the serratus. So press forward, squeeze the butt, draw the abs in. And we're going to hang on here. Lots of tension through the front side of the shoulder when we're doing this, kind of 10 seconds. You're going to feel this maybe even a little bit through your rib cage if you're keeping lots of pressure onto the floor. 3, 2, 1. Let's roll to our side right away. Stack your feet up, snug your shoulder blades, push your butt forward. So try not to be in a crooked position. Try not to have your butt drop too low. Press forward, snug up those shoulder blades. Want to draw the belly button in again. Obviously your head's nice and straight too. You don't want to let that hang. About 5 seconds left, then we'll switch right to our other side right away. And you can go ahead and do that now. Quick transition. Butt squeeze, belly button in. A straight line with all of our body segments. Butt pushed forward. The hips pushed forward, hips opened up, head in line with the rest of the body. Again, belly button in, squeeze those butt muscles together. About 5 seconds here. And we'll get into the back bridge. Hips up, nice straight line between the shoulders and the hips. Shoulders and knees. And you can go ahead and march. We'll go for 20. And keep pressure into your heel before you lift the opposite foot. Make sure you have your glute active. Establish stability through your pelvic girdle here. And then you can march your leg up. Drive your knee all the way in. And we got time. Good job. Awesome. Good work. Okay, cool. The first sequence we're going to slide through is going to be a 30-20 timing sequence. So we'll work for 30 and we'll rest for 20 seconds. I'll show you all 3 movements right away here. So it's a hip hinge, squat, and stand. So the idea first, going to hinge through the hip, nice long spine. You're going to soften your knees. Not going to be straight. It's not going to be a squat. So we'll soften our knees before we start. Hinge through the hip with a tall spine. Then we're going to sink down into a deep squat. I'm just going to grab onto my toes. I'm going to push my elbows into the inside of my knees. And then I'm going to stand up out of the movement. So hip hinge. Sink into a squat. I'm going to press the elbows out. I'm going to press in a little bit too. So a little bit of activation and mobility through the adductor. Then we're going to stand up out of that movement. We're going to keep sinking into that for 30 seconds. Then we've got a hover with an arm reach. All right, so we've done this with a hip extension a few times in the past. And so we're going to be in a hover position. Your feet are going to go out nice and wide. Your hands can come in narrow. And you're just going to reach, alternating sides. And we're trying not to rotate the pelvis. So lots of stability, lots of pressure with the hands into the floor. Again, you can think about kind of getting that serratus active or getting your shoulder blades wrapped around your rib cage. So it's not a bent back. You want to wrap it this way. All right, press the spine up through the shoulder blades, which helps you activate one of your most important and typically inactive shoulder blade stabilizers. Really important for posture. And Turkish get up starter. And so with the Turkish get up starter, we're going to roll on our spine. We're going to roll up onto our elbow, okay? So you can use that leg for a bit of leverage as well. And just like any other Turkish get-up movement, we just want to keep our eyes up onto our hand. And so when we decide to activate, our foot can be a little bit outside our hip. When we decide to go, it's going to be up, reach, big, tall chest. Again, I'm on my forearm here on the offside. And I'm going to roll back down under control, kind of get the lateral side border of my rib cage. I'm trying to keep our spine up as much as we can. So we're going to do that 30 seconds on each side. So it's kind of a 4 exercise set here. All right. So without further ado, with any more explanation, I'll turn the timer on and we'll get started on our 30-20 timing scheme here. First movement, hip hinge, squat, stand. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Hip hinge, down into a squat. Kind of meet the tension between your hand or your elbows and your knees, and we're going to stand up on the squat. We're going to hip hinge again, nice tall spine, sink down, grab the toe, elbows and inside of the knees, have a little wrestling match here, a little activation, a little mobility, and then we're going to stand back up. We'll hinge, we'll squat down, press, and stand. Hinge, tall spine, bent soft knees, down, press, stand back up tall. So again, you need to play around this last one with the range of motion that you've got available to you. Good. We're going to go into hover with arm reach on the next one. You got about 10 seconds. All these movements really want to focus on stability, mechanics, and if range of motion is a challenge, just get as deep as you can. If you need to modify a little bit, please go for it. Feet out wide, hands in tight. Let's go. Reach up. Let's go thumb up on this one. Place the hand back down, right underneath the chest. Feet are going to be out a little bit wider. All right, so feet are going to be outside of hand width. We're going to reach up and keep a nice long spine all the time. And we're going to alternate back and forth. We got 10 seconds left. And keep lots of pressure on the hand. Obviously, we've got lots of pressure into our feet too. And just play around with the range of motion. That's good. Play around with the range of motion of your shoulder joint while you're stabilizing through your torso, through your hips. And we are up in 5 seconds. All right, so it's a starter, Turkish get-up starter. We're going in 3, 2, 1. Let's roll, press up, tall chest, and we're going to roll back down. And then we go again. Roll, tall chest, little pressure in your feet, lots of pressure in your elbow. And again, we're trying to keep those eyes up onto the hand the whole time. Good. We've got 10 seconds left. Chest up nice and tall. Again, use the foot for pressure if you want. On the offside, you're going to keep that foot outside. That's good. Keep that foot outside of hip width. And we're going to switch sides for the next one. We've got 3, 2, 1. Left foot hard pressure up onto my forearm. Keep nice long segments here. Slide back down. Roll back up really tall through the spine. Really tall through the spine. And roll up again. Keep those eyes up toward the top hand. I got about 5 seconds. Pressure into the bottom foot, and then pressure into the forearm. Roll yourself up. Keep your eyes up. Keep that hand nice and tall. That's good. Then we're going to roll right back into our first exercise, which was the hip hinge, squat, and stand. Remember, we've got 3 sets, and we're up here in 3, 2, 1. Good. Hip hinge. Squat down as deep as you can. A little bit of pressure between your elbows and your knees, and we're going to stand up tall. So hip hinge, tall spine, sink down, pressure between elbows and knees, stand back up. Halfway there on this one, sink back down, pressure between elbows and knees, stand tall. You might end up with a bit of pressure on the outside of your feet for this one, obviously to make space for your body. Your feet can be a little wider than a normal squat if they need to be. If you need to flare your toes out to help you get down, that's fine too. And this is our last one. Stand back up, and that's great. We're going to get into the hover with arm reach. Focus on not rotating your pelvis. Focus on having a nice stable spine. And we'll play around with as much range of motion through our shoulders as we can. And we're up in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Extend up and back down. Every time we extend, we want to pause a little bit at the top. And remember, we're trying to keep our feet just a little bit outside of our hands. Now, if you find it really easy, you can bring your feet in, or you can bring your hands out a little bit to make the movement more challenging. The more similar that base of support becomes, or the more narrow the feet become, the wider the hands become, the more challenging it is to keep us from rotating the movement. That's good. Cool. Back down on the floor. We're going to go in 5 seconds here. And we've got the Turkish get up starter. We're going to go one side at a time. And we're on. Let's go. Press, lift the chest, and then drop back down. Nice and flat. Lower back gets down. Keep those eyes up tall. We're trying to keep a nice, stable spine. You're going to get into a little bit of flexion here on the way up. But then when you're at the top, you want to make sure you're in a neutral position. You got 10 seconds left. Up, eyes up, long spine, lots of pressure on the elbow, lots of pressure on the forearm. Commit to that new side that you're going on to, and then we're going to roll back down. That's good. And we're going to do that on the opposite side. We're going to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. Go ahead. Reach up, tall spine, roll back down. You want to accept that force through your abs, through all the muscles around your torso, but also through this foot that's planted on the floor, and all your other segments want to stay nice and long. Nice long arm, nice long leg on the opposite side. Keep lots of tension in your body. Roll down. We've got one more. Roll up under that forearm. Nice big tall spine, and then we'll roll back down. Good. So we're going to get one more set in. We're going to hip hinge, squat and stand, and we're going to go in 5 seconds. Nice long spine always here when we hinge. Hinge through the hip joint. 2, 1, let's go. Spine doesn't move around though. We sink down, get as deep as you can here. Try to let your pelvis tuck under at the bottom. A little pressure between the elbows and knees, and we'll stand back up tall. Hip hinge again. Squat back down. A little adductor stretch and activation. We'll stand back up tall. Good. You want to sit your butt back on that hip hinge. The pressure is going to go back on your feet a little bit. Like I mentioned, you probably have more pressure on the outside of your feet when you're sinking into the squat. A little stretch, a little activation. You want to feel kind of your adductors or groin muscles activating there. And this will be our last one. And we're standing tall. That's good. And we've got our hover with arm reach. So back into that hover position. We're going to go in 5 seconds. Nice wide base of support with your feet. Nice narrow hand support. And let's go. Reach, thumb up, and back down. We're trying to keep our spine nice and stable all the time. So through your hips and through your torso, we shouldn't have much movement or any movement. All right, a little pause at the top. You're halfway through. Again, play around with the reach. You want to get that up as high as you can without rotating through your pelvis, without causing any rotation through your spine. And we got one more rep. Up, pause, and drop back down. Good. We've got our Turkish get up starters here. We're going to do 30 seconds on each side, then we'll get to our next complex. We're up in 5 seconds. Foot planted outside the hip, and here we go. Keep your eyes up. Drop back down. You want to come back down under control. You want to make sure you've got lots of tension in your abs. So from here, we're extended up, and then we want to have a little activation to our front side of our abdominal wall, and obviously through our rotators as well. We want to use our abs and that backside foot as much as we can. And we're always trying to stay under control in these movements. So try not to have any uncontrolled movement. This is our last one here. Backside leg for me is shaking around a little bit. We want to have a nice firm root on the offside. We're up in 5 seconds, guys. 2, 1, go ahead. We're going to extend up onto the forearm and elbow, and we're going to roll back down. Back up, lots of tension. Back down. That was a little uncontrolled. Lots of control all the way through here. Try to manipulate your body under control, put lots of tension in your muscles to help you move in and out without just falling to the bottom of the movement. And we've got 2 more. Extend up, nice firm plant for that backside foot. Under lots of control. This is the last one. Extend up, eyes up, and then we're going to drop back down. Okay, awesome. Cool. So grab a drink of water if you need one. I'm going to explain the next complex to you, and then we'll get going. So it'll be the same idea. We're going to do 30-20 sequence. See if I get my timer. Didn't have my timer on that last one. Let's get the timer set up for 30-20. We've got, like I mentioned, 3 different movements. And so one of them will switch halfway. We'll switch to the 15-second mark. And then the first one we're going to do alternating. So it's going to be a Cossack, deep Cossack squat, side to side, toe up. Get as deep as you can. Play around through range. I mentioned to you last time we did this one on video. If you need to grab a chair or the side of a couch to help you get into the range, go for it. So if your ankle range of motion is going to force you to tip over, if you don't, kind of have a chair in your hand or something to hang on to, absolutely go for that movement. If you need to kind of grab something to get more range through your hip or knee. So we'll alternate sides and we'll go toe up to help us with the range of motion a little bit. And so we'll keep our feet staggered and we'll go side to side. All right, for 30 seconds. Hip hinge swimmer. So just like that first move in the hip hinge squat stand that we did, we're going to get into a hip hinge. We're going to hang out there for 30 seconds. We're going to do this swimmer. So it's a big external rotation through our shoulder joint, up overhead, touch the back of the hands together. Then we're going to come back. We're going to cross the hands. All right, so palm onto the back of the hand. We'll rotate each time if you can think about it. Big external rotation again. So we'll slide through that one for 30 seconds. And then it's going to be overhead, forward, backward hip hinge. And so that looks like this. And we'll switch this one to halfway. I'll let you know when it's time to switch. So we're going to go overhead, hip hinge. We're trying to keep our balance. And we're going to come back. It's the same idea. You're going to lean back as far as you can. And then we're going to sink back into a forward overhead hip hinge. So we'll get 2 or 3 reps in before we switch. Try not to put your offside foot down. You want to balance. You also want to play around with our range of motion there. We'll see how far you can tip back. See how far you can tip forward. And we want to try to keep as straight lines as possible. And so, if your foot's a little bit behind your upper body, it is what it is, but we'll try to keep as straight lines as possible. Okay, so I'm trying to get my timer all set up here. And yeah, we're good to go. That's great. And again, we'll slide through 3 times. Then we've got a little call it 2010 complex at the end with a little bit of stability, a lot of the same stuff. And then you guys are on your way. So we'll start up in 7 seconds. And we're starting with a Cossack squat. Lots of range of motion, lots of depth. Think of everything here as a mobility exercise. Sink down nice and deep, putting pressure on the whole foot. You don't need to adjust your feet when you get back to the top. Sink down as deep as you can. If you can get to the floor, that's great. If you can't, play with your range. If you feel like you really can't get very low on this movement, please don't be shy. Grab the edge of a couch or a chair, whatever it is you have, and play around with your range. Trying to get a little bit of mobility out of this movement. I'm going to slide back and forth. We got 2 seconds. Last one. Awesome stuff. Good. So in 20 seconds, we get into that hip hinge swimmer. So we fold up through the hip. We soften up through the knees. Keep pretty even distribution of weight in our foot, maybe a little bit back on the heel. And we want to make sure we're not flexed or extended through the spine. 3 seconds here. Cross back behind the back. And then we're going to big external rotation through the shoulder joint. Try not to touch the body. We're going to come up overhead, touch the back of the hands together. Big internal rotation as we come out of that movement. And we're going to cross our hands the other way back and behind. Try not to touch the body. So we're trying to push our arms up toward the ceiling as much as we can. Keeping that nice hip hinge. We're trying not to flex through the spine. So feel for that lower back. We want to make sure it's all hip hinge and nothing through the lower back here. And that's good. Awesome. Good. Now we're going to do the overhead forward, backward hip hinge. We'll start by tipping forward, and then we'll go back. At the 15-second mark, I'll tell you guys to switch feet, and we'll go for 15 seconds on each foot. Trying to keep balance, try not to touch the offside foot down, and we're up in 3. Lead with the foot here, glute on, lead with the foot. We're going to go up, overhead, big reach, big extension, just like that hovered extension that we did. Keep the hands up, reach up with the foot, reach back with the hands, and we're going to go the other way. This will be the last one. And back to the back. Good. On the way back through, let's switch feet. Drop yourself forward. And you're going to kick your foot forward and arms back. Big reach forward. And we're going to do that one more time. Let's finish this rep Stay as extended as you can. We'll finish the rep and then we're done. Awesome. Cool. And then we're going to get into the back into the Cossack squat in 10 seconds. So we'll get through this one 2 more times. Stick with it. Again, heart rate is going to be up a little bit from normal for sure. Sink down, toe up. But this workout today is designed to be a little bit of a stimulus for your heart rate, but it's really more of a lower intensity movement. It's kind of like a midweek break almost. Like I mentioned before, we very, very often focus on these body weight type movements, these circuit type training, and getting our heart rate up and really giving it to our muscular system. And if we're following along and we're doing this stuff every day, at some point it becomes taxing, even though we don't have, that's good, a lot of weight necessarily to use, unless you're using a really heavy pack or you're adding weight in. And so it's important at some point during the week that we take a little bit of a break. Obviously we're lengthening our muscles out, and we're also just focusing on being strong technically, have a little recovery, and get back at it again tomorrow. We got the hip hinge swimmer. Hip hinge, hands behind the back, big external rotation. You're going to get up overhead, and then we're going to slide back down. Cross behind the back, up overhead, big external rotation. Trying to point those palms up toward the ceiling, going in both directions. So whether you're internally rotated on the way down before you cross, or externally rotated through your shoulder joints on the way up, trying to get into those deep ranges. We're trying to point the palms up toward the ceiling. Good, we're good there. We'll get 2 overhead, forward, backward hip hinges in on each side here. All right, so we'll do 2. It'll be approximately 30 seconds. We'll switch about halfway through, but we're going to try to get 2 in on each side. And so we're good to start. So let's start up, hands overhead. Kick the foot back, slide into a hip hinge. Make sure you have a nice soft knee. And we'll slide forward, big reach forward with the foot. Reach forward, reach back, and we'll go the other way. So tipping forward, kick that heel up as high as you can. And you kick your foot forward as far as you can, reach your hands back, and then we're going to switch feet on the way through. So feet have been switched, kicking my heel high. Now I'm driving my arms back and kicking my toe forward. And I'm going to switch side. I'm going to keep going for 1 more rep. Let's finish this rep. And big reach, and we're done. Cool. And we're going to go through one more time. We're going to slide through Cossack squat, hip hinge swimmer, and overhead forward backward hinge. And then this complex is done. And we are up in 2 seconds. All right, nice wide base with your feet. So well outside your hip width here, nice and deep. Really just trying to mobilize the hip joint on both sides. Definitely the back side of the hip joint. Hamstrings on my straight leg and on my bent leg. I've got lots of range through my ankle, lots of range through the knee, obviously through the hip as well. I'm trying to keep as straight of a spine as I can, keep my arms out front to help me counterbalance. Obviously in a super deep range like this, it's going to be a little bit challenging. That's good. You're done. It's going to be a little bit challenging to keep your spine up in your super deep hip extension, but we always want to be mindful of that position. Got our hip hinge swimmers coming up in 10 seconds. Remember that the movement, we want to be really mindful of that spine. Again, in this position, we hinge through the hip. We got 3 seconds, but we want to make sure we're trying to keep your chest up through this movement. In a deep hip hinge position like this, it's going to be really tough to get into a lot of spinal extension, but you might end up flexing. So let's try to stay as extended as possible. Keep your chest up, keep your head in a neutral position. You don't want to look straight ahead. That tends to decrease our ability to stabilize through the low part of our back. You want to try to stay as neutral as possible. Looking a little bit in front of you onto the floor. Cross underneath or back behind. Big external rotation. Last one here. And we're done. Cool. Last one we're going to do 2 overhead, forward, backward hip hinges on each foot. We'll start a little bit early here to try to cram it into the 30-second segment. So let's get started on this one. We're going to kick the foot back behind us, hands up overhead, soften the knee. We're going to get forward, trying to balance, kick the foot forward, the hands back, big reach. And let's do it one more time. Kick that foot as high as you can, hands stay up. Now hands drop back, foot goes forward. On the way through, I'm just going to switch my feet, quick transition, butt squeeze. Foot goes up, hands stay up. Hands go back, toe goes forward. And let's go through one more time. Heel up, keep those thumbs up toward the ceiling. We're going to big reach with the toe, big reach back with the fingertips. and stand, and we're done. Good. And then the last segment we're going to get through, guys, we'll roll through a 20-10, 20 seconds on, a 10-second break. Feel free as I'm chatting here to grab water. I'm going to do the same. First one we're going to do for 20 seconds, we're going to do 3 exercises. First for 20 seconds is going to be a plank step out. And so you're in the plank, butt squeeze on your straight leg side, draw the belly button in. We're just going to step out to the side, try to plant your whole foot. And you shouldn't have a lot of movement through your hips. We want to keep us as straight a line as we can throughout that whole movement. So try not to bob up and down with our hips. We're going to do a glute bridge reach. We did this one. We've probably done this movement before. We have done this movement before. We're going to get up into a hip extension. And we're going to roll onto our shoulder. We're going to reach as far as we can without losing any stability through our feet. And we're going to stay in the back bridge today. We're going to roll to the other side. Stay in the back bridge. Roll to the other side. So instead of going up and down, we're just going to keep our glute active for the whole 20 seconds. Roll back and forth. And then you're going to go 20-second segment with an active hamstring stretch. Big quad squeeze. 20 seconds. 20 seconds on the other side. All right. And we're going to roll through that one 3 times. I'm going to roll through that 3 times. I'm just going to adjust my timer. Keep us on track here. And then we'll get right into it. So 3 times, 4 intervals, because we're doing 20 seconds on each on that active supine hamstring stretch. And we're going to be up in 7 seconds plus a Fitbit commercial. Here we go. All right, starting off with a plank step out in 5 seconds. Here we go. Step. Every time should be a stretch. Draw your belly button in. And that leg that's straight, trying to have that butt squeezed. You want to try to force hip extension. And that also helps stabilize the pelvis and hopefully corrects any spinal extension we might be getting. So keeping that pelvis in a stiff position or straight position. Good. We're in a neutral position. Helps you avoid having extension through your spine. And we've got 5 seconds. We're getting into a glute bridge reach. Just hang on to that glute bridge for the whole time. Go ahead. Roll onto your shoulder. Big butt squeeze. When I think about pushing off, push off my left glute to reach to my right side and vice versa. We're just going to keep rolling back and forth. You might get a little pelvic rotation, but we're trying not to lose any contact between the feet and the floor. Cool. Good. And we got that active supine hamstring stretch. Other leg stays straight. Big hug, head down. Squeeze the quad here, guys. Go ahead, squeeze the quad, get as stiff as possible. Now bring that knee back in toward the chest. Big quad squeeze, hang out for a second. You might have some involuntary contractions here. A little bit of shaking, that's fine. We want to try to keep that knee toward the chest. Make it challenging for ourselves to get into knee extension. That's good. And I can just shake that one off. That leg stays nice and straight down toward the floor. I grab the other side now. And again, it's a bit of a wrestling match. It's like stand up, go ahead. I'm kind of trying to resist with my hands, making it hard for my quad to extend my knee. And I'm gonna keep a little bit of pressure between my hand and my hamstring. Big quad squeeze each time. And we're gonna get back into our plank step out. 2, 1, go ahead. Good, reach for the whole. We're gonna get the whole bottom of the foot onto the floor. And again, keep the hips nice and steady. Every time you have your straight leg, you want to make sure that back glute is active. Straighten that leg out, extend the glute. That helps keep the pelvis and spine stable. Plant your whole foot and keep your hips nice and steady. And we're good. We get into our glute bridge reach again. And again, we're keeping our hips up off the floor. Keep your hips extended. You're going to reach, roll onto your shoulder and reach. Make sure we don't lose any contact with our feet and the floor. Your pelvis may rotate, your hips may rotate a little bit. That's okay. Keep pressure in the field. You want to feel like you're actively pushing with your opposite foot to push yourself into rotation. Lots of pressure on that opposite foot. Big butt squeeze on the opposite side. That's good. We get into our supine active hamstring stretch. We're going to do a big knee hug. Keep lots of pressure between the knee and the hamstring. Big squeeze, stand up, big quad squeeze, drop back down, hug that knee into the chest, then we'll roll back out, hug the knee into the chest again. Same idea. We'll continue on. Make it hard to get into knee extension by putting pressure onto the hamstring, trying to keep yourself in hip flexion with your hands. Good, and we'll switch sides. Big hug. We've got about 5 seconds till we start. Hug that quad, that knee nice and tight to your chest. Here we go. We'll extend up, squeeze the quad, keep the toe back as well. We don't want to let that toe go into plantar flexion. Keep it neutral, maybe even dorsiflexion to add a little bit of tension. Through the calf, which crosses over the knee joint. And every time you extend up, you really want to fire up that quad. Squeeze the quad. And you're good. We've got 1 set left, guys. 1 set left. And our low intensity workout is in the books. We've got a plank, step out. And go ahead. Hips stay nice and steady. A little 1 second pause. Just let your hips sink in between your feet. When you get your foot flat onto the floor up there, get as much range as you can. If you can't get your foot flat, get as much range as you can. Challenge your range of motion while you're keeping a nice and steady pelvis and spine. Good. That's great. You can do a glute bridge reach here. Glute bridge reach. Keep the glute bridge. Keep the glutes active. Push yourself into rotation. And keep your feet flat on the floor all the time. Big rotation across the body. Rotate all the way across the body here. Up onto the shoulder. As far as you can. Keep your glutes fired up. Actively push yourself into rotation as we reach across the body. Good. Last one, guys. Supine active hamstring stretch. Knee hugs in toward the chest. And we'll go ahead. We're going to extend up. Big squeeze. Drop it back down. Extend up. Big quad squeeze. Drop back down here. Good. Make it hard to get into extension. A little shaking going on in there. That's totally good. You want to force your front side of your knee joint muscles. That's good. Rest to work in order to help actively extend the posterior side of the hamstrings. Last one, guys. Here we go. Big squeeze. Lots of pressure between your hands and your hammy. Head rests on the floor. Tuck your chin in a little bit. Help lengthen out those extensor muscles through your cervical spine, through the backside of your neck. Big extension. Squeeze the quad. Extend all the way up. Drop back down. Last one. Good. All right. Good. Hey, thanks for joining me today, guys. Really appreciate your commitment to to yourself, to keeping yourself healthy. I hope you enjoyed the low intensity workout today, and we'll get back at some high intensity stuff again tomorrow. All right, enjoy.